So right now we are in IXLCORE, we're in the demo account. I want us to see how to set up a customer. A customer drives everything that we have in the system. So in order to set up a customer, straightforward, you come to the customer tab. Under the customer tab, we'll have all the customers that are existing currently, and at the same time, we're able to create a new customer. Customers can have a status of inactive just by us toggling this button and putting them inactive, and then we'll be able to see that they're inactive customers, and then we have all the contacts of the customer. So for the first time, we can import customers to the system. This is when an organization has so many clients. Once we click import, we can have an Excel document, which is a sample. I can be able to download the sample. And this download sample, I'm able to fill in a CSV file. I'm able to fill in all the contacts of the institutions that are new within the way this sample is. So from there, I'm able to fill in the sample document with all the details. If there are many, put all of them in Excel, put them in this sample format, and then I'm able to come back and upload that file. This when clients are many. However, on the same tab of customers, we can create an individual customer. We can create a new customer when there are not many. So the first set of details are information to do with the company. So our company we are creating today is ABC Company Limited. Now, when we are transiting a client from a new system or from another system, this client, ABC client, has balances. We're able to input the balances at this for the system to ensure these balances are posted. And depending on when we are transferring this information, we can pick the year. So say our company starts year January 1st of 2025 is when we bring these clients' balances to the system. We're able to put in the VAT number of the client if the VAT is required. We're able to put the phone number of the client, and then the website of the client. Remember, this information you're putting now will appear on the documentation of the client. We can be able to put this client in a particular group. So we can be able to predetermine the group, or if we are here, we can create a new group and call it, say, the group of Kenya clients, or whichever group you want to group that client into a particular band. And then you're able to group that client in this particular group. This is normally used when we're going to do marketing, when you're doing promotions, and you want to send an email to a particular group of clients. We are able to pick that particular group of client and send promotional email or attachment. Here we can change the currency. Remember we talked about when we were setting up, we talked about setting up and saying a default currency. So when you say system default, this is the currency the system is set. So if the system is set up and say default currency is Kenya shilling, this client, we will deal with him in Kenya shillings. So remember, when we set up a client and we set up the currency of that client, we cannot change again that client. So we are dealing with the system default, or since this is a different client, we want to deal with the client, we can set up a different currency from the system. This is the place to change for that. We spoke about language. If this client we're dealing with the client and the system default was English, if this client is French speaking or German speaking, we can change the language to that particular client. In our case, since it's an English company, we will retain the system default. The system default was English, and that's okay. So we can say where ABC company is based with the address, and put in the address details, the city, the state, the zip code, and we can select the country. That is the first bit of it. Then we have custom fields. Remember, we have custom fields. These custom fields help us to announce the company, whether it's the birthday of those involved in the company or WhatsApp enabled. So these are key fields. We just fill in the same date that we created that entity, or we can use any other parameter, and then we enable WhatsApp. The reason why we enable WhatsApp is the system definitely is integrated with WhatsApp to allow us to send WhatsApp messages to that client. When you go to billing and shipping is where we have the billing address or the shipping address. The core system can work as a billing, and we can also put in where we're going to ship, if it's goods or if it's parts we are sending to a client. So all you need to do is you just need to say same as customer. Remember, we set the customer details here. So if these details are the same as customer, you just click same as customer. You don't need to fill them again. If you want to do shipping and you want to say shipping at the same as customer details, we just copy the billing address and that's it. Therefore, once we've created that entity, remember we've created an entity so we can save and create a contract or submit. When we say save and create a contact, in ABC Company Limited, there's somebody we are dealing with. So the system allows us to create a contact now that we can deal with from that system or that entity. So in that case, we set up an individual that we can clearly deal with in the company. So we set up John Doe, who's the CEO, and his email is johndoe@gmail.com. Since we already set up as a Kenyan entity, we can be able to put in the details of their phone number here. And then the direction remains the same. That number was WhatsApp enabled, allowing us to be able to send communications to the client, allowing us to send communication through WhatsApp. Passwords, we can create the passwords for the client, which the client will have the ability to change once we create them and once they get in the contact. Now, for this client, we are saying they are the primary contact of this client, and we give them permission to view invoices on their portal. We give them permission to view estimates, contracts, proposal, anything we do not want this client to view, we are able to put it off from here. Any notification we do not want this primary contact to get, we will be able to switch it off from here. Since this is the key core primary contact in the institution, we've allowed them to have access to all this. So what will the system do once we create this contact? Once I say submit, an email will be sent, because you can see here, I can say do not send welcome email. But if I check, it will not send an email. If I check, it will not send a set password email. However, if I uncheck these two, what the system will do will send an email to johndoe@gmail.com to give them access to the system. Therefore, we submit that. What we've done right now is we've created ABC Company Limited, like I can see here, company number 10. We've created the profile of ABC Company. The profile is what we created first, the name of the company. We cannot change the name of the profile. And then we went ahead and created a contact in the company. The system allows us to create a contact. We can create another contact within the company and call them is the accountant of the company. The email is can enable WhatsApp. We can set the password for this other user, and this one is not the primary contact. You see the first one, when we created the contact, it was checked, but we can check this one and uncheck the other one for whoever is the primary. Since this is the accountant, we want them to have access to invoice estimates, but we don't want them to have access to the contracts, not proposals, not support or projects. So the only thing they're able to see is the invoice and estimates and purchase order. They will get notification when we raise a new invoice, new estimate, but when we set a new project, we will not identify them. When we set a credit note, we will, because they're accountants, support tickets, they're not in IT or contracts or any tasks, they will not be able to see that. So this is where we are regulating who within the client is able to see what on the client portal. They will also get an email and a login details to the client portal, and they will have access to see what we are able to see or what we've allowed them to see. So within the company we've set up the profile of the company, we've set up the contact of the company, and we see from the system allows us to see and view all things that we deal with the client from here. So the system recognized that we had an opening balance with this client. Therefore, the system raised an invoice for the opening balance to be able to pay for the client for the balances that we bring them onto the new system. So it raises an invoice, posts the invoice, and shows that as an outstanding, which is already overdue because our due days is 30 days. That's why that invoice is created. So anything for the client we'll be able to see here. So we have a 360 view of the client. We're able to see the statement of the client. We're able to see the beginning balance, which we posted at 600,000. We're able to, from here, we can view the statement as PDF, meaning we can download the statement for ABC. Remember the logo, what is the balances due, and the contacts that we created for the company. That is why this becomes very important, and how our details are also shown. We can print the invoice for those clients who prefer to have hard copies and send the hard copy to the client and print it out. Here, once I click this, I can be able to email that to the client, and the client can be able to see the statement or can be able to view from here. So when I'm working from here, I can, and then I can copy info at IXLCORE, or I can copy info at accounts at IXLCORE.com for the accountant to receive the copy of invoice. And then I can send that invoice. The client will get an attachment of that particular statement, and he'll be able to click and view that particular statement. Same can happen to invoice. When we have the invoice opened and it's overdue, we're able to see whether the invoice can be paid or not. It's the status of the invoice, the due date, which was supposed to be in January, but right now in August it's not paid, it's overdue. At this point, I can be able to click there and view the invoice. It will open for me the invoice, and I'm able to do the same. If there was any change or there's problem with this invoice, I'm allowed to edit from the customer perspective and edit whatever needs to be edited for that particular invoice. If there's anything to change, any method to change, then I'm able to change from there. Still on the our customer view, we get to view everything of that particular client. We can see the invoice, and from the invoice we can send here. Same like we did the statement, we can be able to send the invoice by clicking on this button. You can send the invoice, and the invoice gets to the client, and the invoice will be attached as PDF, or if you want it to just go as a link, you uncheck this. The client will get the link and they'll be able to log in. Since we created the primary contact and the accountant, you can see all of them will be able to get that document. We can attach also the customer statement for this particular month or for the period, and the two documents will go once you say send. They will be sent to the client. Now, whilst we are still on the customer ABC that we've created, we can see the invoice. Any payments this client makes, we will see from here. We'll be able to see all the payments for that particular client. On the same note, we're able to create proposals while we are still on the client tab. We just generate proposals. We can do the credit notes and see all the credit notes generated. If there are any estimates we've done for the client, we will do the estimates from here, and any estimates that have been generated, we will see them. Purchase orders. subscriptions that the client is subscribed to, whatever services they're subscribed to, we'll see them here. Expenses that we've raised on these clients, we will be able to see there. Contracts, same thing, we'll be able to see all the contracts that are on the client. So this gives us all the views of the client. Remember when you were talking about settings and you were talking about Google IPs, Google setup, this is where we also put in the coordinates. These coordinates will allow us to see the map of where the client is located or the location of our particular client. So IXLCORE offers the capability for us to see the client and what and everything that we are dealing with the client. Remember, this particular client may have different people that are dealing with within the organization. So when they log into this client, they will be able to see how many invoices have been generated for that client. If there's a proposal that has been generated for that particular client, that proposal will appear here so that you know which other proposal you're going to do for the client. And that's how, in a nutshell, we create a customer who runs the core of IXLCORE in our system. So once you create the customer forms basis on the listing of our customer. So we're able to see the customer, and in the customer, you can view the customer. We can see the contacts that we created on the customer. We can delete the client if no longer need working with us. This is the primary contact and the email of the primary contact, the phone number of the primary contact, and the group that this particular client or contact or the client belongs to. So that's how we create a customer, by importing a customer listing or by creating one by one, depending on how big the organization or how big the data is. That's how we are able to create a customer in IXLCORE. Thank you very much.